and 4. Are you gonna be changing the mics too, Kyle? What about the? Good afternoon and welcome to Kicker News. My name is Mohhamed, and today we'll be talking about vaping, CBD, and drug use, and its effect in the media, followed by movies and movie flops of 2019. Joining me today are Griffen, Eric, and Brianna.
Hey there, my name is Griffen Stuckless. I'm a student journalist at CNA, Prince Philip Drive, interested in broadcast and radio.
My name is Eric Thomas. I am also a journalism student at CNA, interested in broadcast entertainment journalism.
Hi, my name is Brianna Macormack. I am also a student journalist at the Prince Philip Drive campus at CNA. My main interest is pursuing a career in radio.
Today we'll be starting off our segment on paramedicine by Ken Meeker.
Any response? Not even on a sternal rope? Where's the pulses? Do we got any? No?
Call for backup and get an AED. There's no breathing, no pulse.
So I teach the paramedicine program, primary care paramedic. I've been a paramedic myself for 20 years, 10 years in the province with the flight team and 10 years in Alberta on the road as an advanced care paramedic. I'm looking for students that are physically strong, that they got mental resilience and a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. It's not an easy job, but it is a very rewarding career out there helping people. It's intense. It starts off heavy right from the get-go and all the way through the second year. That it's heavy studying, a lot of exams. It's skills-based.
My name's Sarah, and I'm a second-year student in the primary care paramedicine program. The program is intense, jam-packed, full of anything and everything you could picture around the career. We have great instructors, great classmates, lots of resources, and it's been a lot of fun. For this program, you have to care. You have to care a lot. You have to have empathy for people and understanding of the fact that you're going to be with them in some of their most terrifying, intimate moments, and they're relying on you to essentially play God, if you will, and be their saving grace. You got to be physically strong, you got to be mentally strong. Oh my God, this program can offer everything. I mean, I think the biggest thing I found from it is a family, a sense of belonging. I've made more friends between my classmates and my instructors. They're like a second set of parents, really. They've been, my God, anything and everything. You can ask them questions about the program, about life, about what to expect in the career. I came into the program thinking I was in relatively good shape. We did our first run through the test, and I got all of a foot away from the end and dropped the 145 pounds and thought, this is the end of the world and I'm done. And my instructor said, no, suck it up, you can do it. I know you can do it, I've watched you do it. So my second time around, he stood there and cheered me every step of the way, and I got to that last foot and I didn't drop it. And I went right to my knees and cried, and it was the best moment ever.
Teen vaping is on the rise. This brings a lot of health concerns with today's youth. Kicker's Kyle Curtis has the story.
When I walk the streets of St. John's, I see too many underage teens vaping. Today, I talked to Jennifer Parrott, a nurse at the Recovery Center in Pleasantville, and Matt Martrette, a former Vapor Access employee, to see the effect vaping has on the lives of youth. Matt Martrette has years of experience in the vaping industry and has this to say about vaping within the teen culture.
Personally, I think vaping affects teen culture in the same way that smoking cigarettes did in our parents' generation. It was the popular thing for them to do because there wasn't as many studies showing the effects that smoking had on your health. So they believed it was okay, but now with teenagers, we are back at the same point. Vaping hasn't had as many studies published, so the teenagers now don't know the possible effects it can have on their health. However, in my opinion, I believe vaping will replace smoking in the coming generation and we'll be right back where we started until a new trend comes along and replaces vaping. I don't think we'll see it anytime soon. However, I do believe that it will happen in the not-so-distant future.
Matt was in the business because he wanted to help people quit smoking. He says this about the most popular devices he sees around high schools in Newfoundland.
Right now, the most popular devices are mouth-to-lung devices, which allows the user to vape at a higher nicotine level, which more accurately simulates a smoking experience.
Jennifer Parrott has 24 years of experience on the job as a nurse. She explains what mouth-to-lung devices do to our lungs.
Well, as a result, whatever you're inhaling through these vape devices is completely going into the lungs themselves. So there's not much oxygen that is getting into the lungs. So the more times that you vape or the deeper that you inhale from the mouth into the lungs, you're going to have more of these chemicals and byproducts and nicotine go directly into the lungs themselves. You're filling the lungs up with that kind of air quality, which is not very good, and the amount of oxygen that you're actually taking in during vaping is decreased even further. So it's going to affect the lungs for sure.
Since Jennifer works at a recovery center, she deals with people struggling with addiction every single day. When talking to her about what nicotine does to a teenager's mind, she had this to say about addiction.
As a result, because they become addicted to the nicotine, they want to smoke more, whether it be vaping or smoking cigarettes. And as a result, the brain itself is not developing in a normal, healthy manner that it should. And it's now showing that these young people are suffering with their overall brain development, and it's delaying their actual mental health growth as well as their physical growth.
Vaping has more effect on teens than we realize. Parents in high schools need to step in to teach them about the risks behind this nasty habit. For Kicker News, I'm Kyle Curtis.
All right, so with the effects of vaping and the issues that have been caused with health in younger teens, we've been discussing how a lot of those issues have specifically come from teenagers who are trying to smoke marijuana from their vapes, and there's just a lot of unsafe issues there, but it seems like there's just no education on it. Like, no one's really telling these kids, like, how they should be cautious of their health.
Well, I think a big thing, too, is before we were born, when our parents were young, for example, and their parents before them, smoking was a social thing. It was seen as cool. It was the thing to do. Very much now, vaping seems to have become that sort of fit-in cool icon. I mean, how many people do you see that have never smoked a day in their lives that vape constantly? It's the in thing to do. And with weed being legalized, you have people who are using these devices irresponsibly, and that's resulting in people trying to use oils, some kind of extracts from cannabis or the like in these devices, and that's causing problems with the devices and with their health. So
Yeah, and I mean, there was so many pros to smoking back when our parents were growing up. Like, in the media, it made you lose weight, right? Like, all of those things there. So it's definitely, it's something that people need to be more educated on.
yeah, for sure. I think maybe they should start doing when I went to school when I was in elementary and junior high, we had anti-smoking campaign ads run sometimes with displays and the little site or the sort. So maybe we need some kind of intervention from government or school systems now to educate the youth on the possible effects and health concerns of vaping as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, frankly, Well, I mean, yeah, both of you are right. There are no there's no proper education on it, and it has another issue is the fact that it's been far too normalized as far as I'm concerned. Say especially in the media, like you have films and television shows, like having characters who use vapes. Like they'll just be talking to another character or something, pull a vape out of their pocket and put it back. Like there's no big deal about it. It's just as normal as smoking. So.
Well, I know there's. I think Brianna's got a TV show. She was talking about that features prominent drug use inside of it, right?
Yeah. So a big show this year, really popular on Crave, was Euphoria. It was created by Sam Levinson, and Zendaya Coleman plays the main character, Rue Bennett, who is a teenage drug addict. And the show starts with Rue returning from rehab to go back to school, but she has no intentions of staying sober. And throughout the 10 episodes of the series, you see her struggle with her addiction and the way it's affected her relationships, and also just the normalization of, I guess, minor drug use, like just smoking weed, instead of these more intense drugs that she found her way into.
What is the targeted age for this TV show?
It's actually, it's supposed to be like teens to young adults. It's pretty graphic. It's pretty like gruesome in the reality of a lot of things that like youth today go through. So there's a lot of pros and cons to it. There's definitely debate on how much of a good thing it is, how much of a bad thing it is, but it has been really popular. It's well produced.
It's very raw as far as I've seen. Like it doesn't really hold much back. It is graphic, and it does show everything.
And the feedback was controversial on this TV show?
It was mostly positive because it touches on like a lot of big topics, like
I know there's another movie I think me, Eric, and Mo all saw was called Knives Out, and that's to me that's probably 2019's, for me, my pick for 2019's best movie. And that one also features representation of not only vaping but also cannabis use within the movie by the character. I think it was Meg Thrombey. She uses both of it in the movie kind of nonchalantly. It's not really made a big deal of. And that's a teen character, young adult, sort of that age. And I think the movie is also directed towards that age group. But what about you, Mo? What did you think of that movie?
I feel like they were trying to not emphasize on what age group she was in, and she was using those drugs, so it isn't implied like we as the audience have to decide for ourselves what age group she was in and what the targeted audience for this is.
If I could cut in, the movie does put an emphasis on her political standings. So that is pretty essential to her character, and it kind of it doesn't add a lot to the plot to the movie other than like a casual banter, but it's kind of she does use the cannabis and the jewel very nonchalantly. And she's been but the character herself has been described as a neoliberal. So she is, as far as like, she's very down, like down for everything. Like she's trying to down for everything good. Like down for the cause is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. Down for the cause, and if it doesn't go her way, then it's out the window altogether.
Well, while we're on the topic of movies, I mean, I say for me that was my best movie, top movie of 2019. But how about you, Eric? I know you're a big fan of Star Wars, and there was a lot of Star Wars media, and that came out in the past few years. So what do you think for movies?
I am upset to say that as a Star Wars fan myself, Star Wars is not at the top of my movie list. I would have to say that Knives Out also happens to be my favorite movie of last year, as a big fan of Rian Johnson himself and most of the main and supporting cast of the film in terms of writing and direction. It's a very detailed and intricately written film. The writing matches with Rian Johnson's writing really is really made an emphasis of with his direction, because it's very obvious, it's very in your face, then there's the writing, which comes across as bizarre but also very comedic. It's almost dark. It could be almost described as a dark comedy in some ways.
Yeah, I've heard that about the last couple too, and even seeing them myself, I definitely picked up on that, especially more in the last movie that came out.
I think it did well, considering they were trying to end the Skywalker story and close the book on the Skywalker family, and also they also profited about $670 million from the movie.
I mean, people love Star Wars, right? It's the end of an era, so I guess even if people have reserves about it and dislike it, it's still the last of the movies, so I can totally see that mixed feedback and also the high profit.
Even if it's a bad Star Wars movie, in terms of box office returns, it's still a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about box office returns, I would imagine the recent Joker movie topped some charts there, huh? What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, 51 million profit.
Yeah, it seems to be a big hit. There's a lot of discussion about how it portrays mental illness and how it does a really good job of showing the raw reality of someone who suffers with a mental illness.
Creates a lot of social awareness, the things that people have to deal with. What do you think, Eric?
My issue with Joker is that it displays the issues within society and what leads to people develop these terrible mental health, but the movie itself does not. It is essentially saying, yes, mental health, we do have bad mental health in the world. It's not it's not always a great place, but the issue is that it doesn't really give any remedies. It doesn't say anything to me. It says that there are issues in the world, but it doesn't tell us how can we fix it.
Talking about top movies, let's switch the topics to movie flops. What do you think the top movies flops of 2019 were, Brianna?
Cats. I think Cats was... It's honestly a tragedy. It could have been so good, but the issue is the CGI, and that's everyone's issue with it.
As I like to put movies like this, they're usually disaster pieces rather than masterpieces. They had a vision, but it didn't really play out.
Yeah, I think the cast is incredible. Yeah. I mean, absolutely amazing. The music is good. It's just the CGI, the presentation of it really ruined it for everyone, I think. And it's interesting because the new Sonic movie is coming out, and so many people, when they saw like the first clips, the first photos of Sonic, they decided that they were gonna redo it because they wanted to keep, you know, their audience happy. And I feel like that's like such a good business move too.
I think it's a good business move, but they met a lot of backlash. They had to do something. That movie was looking like a train wreck. I mean, Sonic's design was just so poor. I mean, there was a fan version of it, and it looked way better. And I think that was kind of the studio's moment where they're like, okay, I mean, if someone's doing a fan recreation for a joke, making fun of us, maybe we've got to step it up.
Another movie that did not do so well was Gemini Man. That was the lead actor. The lead actor was played by Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith. What do you guys think of it?
That movie was in development hell for years, almost nearly 2 decades, and it's sad to see so much work in a movie go to waste, because it's kind of becomes a style over substance issue. Because when that movie came out, when that movie originally was in production, they prided themselves with their use of CGI. They were trying to pride themselves with their use of CGI, which is the case of the movie. Will Smith, played by Will Smith, obviously, is fighting a younger version of himself. Will Smith's face over over Jaden Smith's face. So and then it just kind of becomes a mess in how it's delivered, because the CGI just is simply not as impressive as it would have been like 10 years ago.
Yeah, just a lot of movies that seem to have some great potential and seem to flop because of some digital errors.
Typically studio
the longer
interference.
You take to produce an effect, the farther the ball is rolling.
And that movie did lose a lot of money because of that, because they put so much confidence in it and so much money, but it didn't, and especially with the advertisement campaign, it simply did not do nearly as well as, not to say that it should have, but as it had to make its money back.
Do you guys, what would you rate as a higher, what movie would you say is a bigger flop from both movies that we discussed today?
I think that's hard for me to say. Cats, they're both CGI disasters. But I think taking something that was already made, like Cats, as a play and trying to adapt that to a film and doing such a poor job visually that it's off-putting, despite being a mainly musical-focused piece, it is a huge failure. They dropped the ball. I think I would have to say that's my vote.
I would say Cats in general, because Cats had despite a pretty simple premise, it had a blockbuster budget. And at least Gemini Man made some money, some modest money, but Cats just tanked. It did not, financially, it didn't do well. And especially with a lot of unfinished CGI, the movie itself, it seems like it matches, essentially it matches the box office returns.
Right. And what about, would you guys think, what was your favorite movie this year?
Like I said, for me, it's got to be Knives Out, and for least favorite, The Lighthouse was not. I didn't like The Lighthouse personally. Maybe I just don't get it. It's definitely an artsy thing, maybe, and I just don't understand it. But don't like it.
My favorite, as I said earlier, was Knives Out. And I'm also sad to say that my least favorite of the year was The Rise of Skywalker.
Right. And what about yours, Brianna?
Can I make a bold statement?
Yeah, sure.
I really like The Lion King. I really thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't know if everyone can say the same. And for movie flops, I don't know. I'm still gonna go with Cats. Yeah.
That's a fair one, I think.
Yeah. I have a lot of resentment towards that movie.
For 2019, my favorite movie was The Irishman, played by Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. I feel like the film did really good, and the worst one was Cats, in my opinion. Thank you for tuning in. Please do like our video and subscribe to the Kicker News page. My name is Mohhamed Ahmed, and you're watching Kicker News.